When it comes to your own judgment, it all comes from within. Is that knowing what your values are and what your value is. And a lot of the times we forget that we are the value. It's us. It's not our to-do list. It's not all the check marks that we do. It's not everything that we complete. It is us. So once you ground yourself on what I bring to the table, my presence, how I make people feel, how I can make connections, how I can connect an idea, how I can connect people, how can I connect organizations, communities, departments. That's when you're bringing that confidence into your judgment because you have the information, you have the understanding, you are trying to put all the pieces together, and that's how you can make decisions afterwards. But it comes from within.
Welcome to the Self-Care Goddess podcast, where healing stories, practical self-care strategies, and science-backed tools to regulate stress, feel calm, grounded, and energized come together to help you reclaim your vitality. I'm your host, Rita Savoya, holistic nutritionist, trauma-informed breathwork coach, and founder of Breathwork Barista. This podcast is for women who are ready to restore their energy and radiance, reconnect with their bodies, reawaken their inner power, and redefine self-care as a way of being. Through science meets soul practices, restorative mind-body tools, and real stories of transformation, we'll explore how true well-being can help you live with more joy, vibrant health, and authentic connection to yourself and those you love. Take a deep breath in, let it go, and let's begin. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Self-Care Goddess podcast with today's theme, Quiet Confidence, Why the Best Leaders Don't Need to Be the Loudest. Very, very excited to talk to our returning guest about this incredible topic today. But as you know, on this podcast, let's give ourselves a few moments before we start to really tune out what is going on around us by maybe lowering the gaze or even closing the eyes for just a couple of moments here, gifting ourselves a little bit of self-care and self-love by allowing the breaths to flow in through the nose and then out with a gentle sigh, relaxing our shoulders as we breathe a little deeper, a little slower than normal, relaxing our jaw, allowing the tongue to float to the roof of the mouth as we breathe in through the nose, expanding our bellies on the inhales, and then letting it go on those exhales, letting go any tension, any stress, letting go of anything that you're holding on to that might not serve you at this moment. And as you continue these breaths, I invite you to channel them into the area of the heart where attention goes, energy flows. So let's energize this beautiful organ that's keeping you alive, showing gratitude and appreciation for this organ today. And now I invite you to visualize someone that you're grateful for, living or past. Visualize this person as if they were right here in front of you, and I invite you to send them all the love, the gratitude, and the appreciation for being in your life through the good times and the not so good times, but they were there. So I invite you today to send them that appreciation. Allow it to flow from your heart to theirs. And on your next inhale, send that love, appreciation, and gratitude, send it back to you. Fill your heart for being here, doing the work, not giving up, for your own self-care and self-love. On your next inhale, flutter your eyes open and come back to us. Thank you for participating in that quick coherence technique. So today's guest is someone who believes, by the way, is a returning guest. So I'm very, very excited. Someone who believes that the most effective leaders aren't the ones who try to fit a mold. They're the ones who have the courage to lead as themselves. Karen Wonders spent more than 2 decades as an engineer and leader before discovering that the greatest leadership challenge wasn't mastering the technical work. It was finding the confidence to show up authentically. That realization led her to found LALUZ Consulting, where she now helps professionals, executives, and emerging leaders develop the clarity, confidence, and self-trust to step into bigger opportunities without losing who they are. An engineer by training with an executive MBA and executive coaching certification from the University of Toronto, Karen brings a unique combination of strategic thinking, thoughtful leadership, and calm presence to her work. She believes every person has a unique light to offer the world, and her passion is helping others recognizing it, owning it, and letting it shine in. And beyond leadership, there's a joyful side to Karen. She's an avid Wimbledon fan and dreams of one day watching the championship from center court. Why not? She recently rediscovered the simple pleasure of reading romance novels. Emily Henry is a favorite. And if her life had a soundtrack, it would be My Way by Frank Sinatra, a song that reminds her of her mother and beautifully reflects her belief that we do our best work when we lead authentically in our own way. Wow, what a bio. Welcome back, Karen. How are you today? It's such a pleasure to have you back with us today.
Thank you for having me back, Rita. I'm really happy to be here. And I love the cadence of your voice. A meditation was wonderful to join us into today's session. And I wish you could read my bio every time.
Well, thank you. Well, definitely you can start replaying this, the video anytime you want. But again, thank you for taking the time to be with us again. And today we're talking about something quite interesting. And we actually came up with this when we had our previous podcast. And if you haven't listened to it, it's an UpliftHer leadership series segment, and it goes into Karen's more personal life. And then we thought, okay, this is something that we really want to bring to the forefront. So give us a little bit more background on this and why you're focusing a lot of your coaching on this quiet confidence.
Yes, I think that phrase came up, and it's a phrase that I've been using since I started coaching. And I know I didn't come up with it, but it is something that I truly align with, and it's that quiet confidence. And a lot of the times, people ask me, well, why quiet confidence? Like, aren't they oxymorons? And to me, they're the perfect combination, because quiet doesn't mean that you're silent. Quiet means that you're grounded, you're calm, you're clear, you're able to make decisions, you're able to make decisions quickly, you're not stalling, and you're constantly moving because you're grounded within yourself. And that's the biggest difference there with quiet confidence versus, performing and trying to fake that you're confident, is that it's coming from inside, it's coming from within you, it's not coming from what others are telling you of who you are.
I love that. So I do find that you're getting good acceptance of it, or are people still kind of skeptical? Because most of us are taught to sort of project that confidence as opposed to quietly embracing it.
And I feel like at the beginning, when I start talking about it, the main thing that I say is that when you're projecting that confidence, in a way, it's like a performance. And when you're not being yourself, when you're performing, it takes a lot of your willpower. It takes a lot of your energy. And when you're constantly trying to portray yourself as one thing or another, you're trying to fill in a mold that is not yours. And it can be so awkward because it hasn't been made for you. And that's the biggest thing with quiet confidence, is that you find who you are, what you stand for. We're not all cookie cutters. Everybody's different, but you start understanding what are your own strengths, what is it that you bring to the table, and how your presence is really what's going to help you display that confidence within, not something that you're being loud and cheery and this and that, being somebody you're not, for example. So that's the biggest thing, is like understanding that we need to do the work within so that it shows outward. And that's how your quiet confidence comes through.
I love that. So what are your thoughts on faking it until you make it when it comes to that type of leadership?
So I always say it's like, be yourself. the best thing you can do is be yourself, be present. When you're present, you let others see you for who you are. You also start hearing what others are saying, and you bring it all together and just bringing all that clarity together too. Because sometimes when we are having conversations and you're trying to fake it, you're rushing to say the next thing because you're rushing to say, I want to show how smart I am. I want to show how much I know this. I want to show that I know my stuff. I want to show that I can lead. And so you're trying to constantly get ahead without understanding who the person is in front of you and just having a conversation and letting them see you for who you are. And that's so hard because when we're young, we're so excited to say, oh, I know how to do this. Let me show you. And to take that quiet step back and have the conversation, be present, know what the other person is saying, know what the other perspective is, know that you don't have all the answers, knowing that you're able to collect all answers and come up with a brilliant idea. That's where that quiet confidence comes in.
And I love that you brought this up because would you say that it's tied, or embracing the quiet confidence is tied to more of like experience based on your age perhaps? Or can you embrace, or can we teach quiet confidence to the younger leaders as well? Or does it have to be after a certain amount of years of experience or seasons that we've gone through?
So the same way that I believe that there's no mold for leadership, I don't believe leadership comes with a title. I don't believe that you have to have a management title in order to be a leader. So you can be a leader as a 15-year-old, you can be a leader as a 20-year-old, as a 35, 50, 60. You can be a leader throughout your entire career and your entire life. And that really ties back to that presence, knowing that your presence is probably the highest currency you can provide, because in these days everybody's multitasking, looking at their phone, listening to something, watching things at double speed, like having constant information your way. And even when you have somebody in front of you, their mind is wandering somewhere else. So if you give somebody your full attention for 5 minutes, it's much better than having a meeting for 30 minutes. And having the full attention for 5 minutes and having that conversation is going to get you so much further than if you're just passively sitting in a meeting for an hour or two. So if you learn that early of what kind of questions can I ask, what kind of curiosity can I bring in, how can I be present and not just passively go through whatever I'm doing, be present on every single thing that you do, then that's how you're building your leadership. That's how you're building your quiet confidence, because as you collect more information, experience kicks in. And the more experience you have, obviously, the more lived experiences, the easier sometimes it is to make judgment calls than when you're younger.
I love that. Why is it bad to listen to things at 2 speed? 2x?
It's not bad if you're getting the information, but if you're listening to things at 2 speed and doing something else at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, no, I can't. Yeah, I can't do that anymore.
One or the other. Right?
You're so right. And you know what's so interesting? So, Karen, before my wellness career, I was in human resources, and a lot of what I did was recruitment as well. I did all facets of human resource management, but part of it was recruitment. And I remember specifically asking the question during interviews, so show us or demonstrate your multitasking skills. How do you multitask? And we were praising multitasking. And now we know that it's a myth. You can't be doing all of these things. You're just actually dividing your attention, which is horrible for our brain to be doing that. So interesting what we know now.
And there's a place for multitasking in the sense that you can have music in the background while you're doing a task that you're used to, or you can be having a conversation while perhaps you're walking on the treadmill, which is like it's taking two sides of your brain, and that multitasking is not overlapping. But if you are writing an email and having a conversation, reading your email and having a conversation at the same time, that's where, like you said, our attention cannot be divided. You just cannot do that.
Yeah, yeah. It just reminds me of a boss I used to have. It was so annoying. I would walk into the office and he'd be like behind his laptop and he'd be typing away and talking to me. And it's just like, like, hello, like I'm here. It's just, it's really, really rude, right? And you just don't feel heard or seen or understood, really.
And that's a perfect example. And what I used to do was I will just stay quiet and
Hmm.
pause. And they will be like, oh, I don't hear anything. So they will physically raise their head. And I'll be like, okay, I have your attention now. Here's what I need from you.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually,
But it
yeah.
is being intentional ourselves too. And it's nothing that it was loud, it wasn't rude or anything. I just stopped talking until he realized that he needed to pay
Mm.
attention.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because I remember talking to a psychologist, and she was specifically for relationships, and that's one of the complaints that she would get is either partner was just on their phone when they were talking to them and having some serious conversations, and that's one of the things that she actually suggested was just stay quiet, and he or she will look up and be like, "What's going on?" and then they'll get the message. So Karen, so much of women's confidence gets tied to this external validation. So, what's your recommendation? How can we start trusting our own judgment instead?
So when it comes to your own judgment, it all comes from within. Is that knowing what your values are and what your value is. And a lot of the times we forget that we are the value. It's us. It's not our to-do list. It's not all the check marks that we do. It's not everything that we complete. It is us. So once you ground yourself on what I bring to the table, my presence, how I make people feel, how I can make connections, how I can connect an idea, how I can connect people, how can I connect organizations, communities, departments. That's when you're bringing that confidence into your judgment because you have the information, you have the understanding, you are trying to put all the pieces together, and that's how you can make decisions afterwards. But it comes from within. If we are always looking for that external validation, then we start spinning. Um, Having, let's say, a performance review, for example, you must be like, let's say you're high level, you get a performance review, and there's a couple of criticisms in there when we're performative or we're not quite sure about criticism. It's going to send us on a spin. It's going to go into, I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing here? I don't belong. Is that whole imposter syndrome that comes into play. And when you look at it the other way of, okay, no, I'm grounded here. I'm getting feedback. What can I learn from this? Is it a skill that I need to learn? Is it a behavior that I need to change? What is it really that will help me move forward? And that's how you start building that judgment too, because you're like, I'm coming from a learning mindset. I'm coming from a growth mindset. I'm not coming from a personal attack mindset.
Yeah, that's true. And in terms of external validation, is any of it needed? Or is there sort of a certain amount of it that we actually need to help build that confidence? What's your opinion on this?
I always feel that it has to come from you. If it doesn't come from you, it doesn't matter how many great pats in the back you get, it's never going to be enough. You're always going to crave for one more, more, and more.
Hmm.
And when it comes from within you, you know what you bring to the table. You know that when you celebrate something great happening, you're like, oh, what did I do to get there? Back to, because we usually dissect the negative, but we don't dissect the positive. So when something great happens, it's like, oh, how did I get there? What did I do? How did I grow? How did I help the company grow in this sense? So it becomes more about who was I when I accomplished this? Who was I? Or how was showing up when this was happening? So it becomes about you within and how you can grow, how you can get better, how you can show up. And external validation, of course, everybody likes it. Somebody says you did an amazing job. great. You're not going to shy away from it. You're not going to be like, no, 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 don't
Yeah.
praise me. The key is that you can that let be your highs and your lows. So when you're getting praise, you're like in a high. And when you're getting criticism, you're in a completely low. So you can that let that control you. That's the biggest thing. It's like you can't let that control your mind, control the way that you behave.
So you stay neutral by having that internal validation or increasing that confidence from yourself.
From
And
saying, yes, you love yourself. When you love yourself, you attract others because you yourself love yourself. And it's hard to sit back and say, do I love myself? What is it about me that I love? And when you start talking to yourself about that, it might take a little bit of time, but you realize what an amazing person you are. And then when somebody else says this, you agree with it because you're like, yes, I know that's what I do. I know, and I'm glad it's showing for somebody else.
It's so interesting, Karen. It reminds me of like, because I'm also a yogi and I've done my certification, and that's one of the teachings, like the yoga philosophies, is to stay in that neutral zone. And here I was always like, but no, we need to always be positive and stay on the positive side and look at things from a positive perspective. And that's exactly what they said, was that when things happen that are great, then you're on this end of the spectrum. And then when things obviously are going to not be so great, this is life, right? It's just such a huge shift. Instead, if you come back to the middle and just stay balanced and stay in the middle, then that becomes a lot easier to operate from, for you to come back and forth from these two life extremes.
Exactly. Because you're like, what is that teaching me? Where am I going? What do I need to do? Where is the gap? You don't observe it, you kind of observe it. And that's the best way that I can explain it. It's like when you observe things, you detach
Yeah.
yourself from it. You're not in it. But when you absorb it, that's what's fueling you. And you want something else to fuel you. You don't want the external validations to fuel you.
Right. I love that. So you are observing it, not absorbing
I'm
it.
sort of in it.
But it's so hard to do, right? Because I mean, even at this
Absolutely.
age, with all of the work that I've been doing on myself and personal development and all of that, I still want my parents' approval for some of the things, you know? It just feels so good for them to be like, oh, great job. Or, yeah, it's just, I guess it's in us innately to to look out for this external validation. Would you say? Is it almost like a survival?
In a way, I also feel that we tie our values so much to how we hype and what we give and what shows up instead of tying our value back to who we are. And when you detach the two, then it's a little easier to not be so caught up in that validation state. And your
Mm.
parents become a support system. Your parents become more of a warm hug that you get because you're sharing your life with them, opposed to, I need them to approve what I'm doing.
As opposed to expecting it or wanting it.
Exactly.
So how do you
Yes.
work with a woman then? What do you do? Do you kind of like, I'm just talking, like, do you do a list of all of their accomplishments and what they're confident about? How do you work with someone to help them through this?
So everybody's different. And everybody has different blind spots. Everybody has different goals that they're trying to achieve. At the core of it, usually we'll look at what is your process for dealing with things. So when it comes to your strengths, are you aware of what your strengths are? All of our strengths are differently. And the reason why you want to know what your strengths are is like you want to know how you shine. You want to know how you're going to get through things. So if something comes up that is completely new, that you've never looked into, you don't get paralyzed. You go, okay, I've learned things from scratch before, or I've been here before in a different flavor. I know I can do research, be resourceful. I know I have a support system. I know I can figure things out. And when you know yourself, you can tell yourself that narrative of like, okay, this is unknown. I'm not quite sure what's going on. I can break it down and figure it out the way that I know how to figure things out. The way I figure things out is very different than the way that you read to figure things out. We're
Mm.
just different. We all are. So once you know that, you know what your process is, how you do it, then whatever comes your way becomes a little easier because you have a structure underneath to help you get through it. You're no longer in this spinning or you're not in this black hole. You're more like in clear waters going, okay, birds are coming my way. Let me see what I do when birds come my way. And then you deal with it. And so that's what we work on. We worked on what's your strength? What's your process? How do you figure things out? And then what is it that you ultimately want? Because a lot of the times we work on things that others tell us to do and we forget what we want for ourselves. So what is it you ultimately want for yourself? And how do we get there? How do we get there? How do we break it down in small pieces so we get to where you want?
Beautiful. And would this be how many sessions would we need to figure this out? I'm just curious. Depends on the person.
It depends on the person, where they are, what is it that they're trying to figure out. A lot of times we start with just figuring what's next for you. There's people who are at crossroads, they're not quite sure what role to get. Sometimes they are new to their org and they're not quite sure how to navigate what's going on. And usually we have like 3 sessions to help them figure that out. And sometimes people are a little bit more overwhelmed, in which case we do 6 sessions and we might include skills development as well. So if we know that is somebody transitioning from, let's say, a management role to a director role, and they need like skills in between, we also insert those in because that's part of growing, is knowing that there's a skill that you need to learn. It's like, how do we teach you that? And in parallel, how do we work towards you owning the role that you're in?
Cool. Very nice. Very, very insightful. So going back to quiet confidence, oftentimes it means comfortable with saying no, setting boundaries, not needing to prove yourself. So in your opinion, why do so many women struggle with that? And how can they begin to embrace that shift?
Think we touched base a little bit earlier on this of like back to the value. And we think that if we say no, we're not helping. If we say no, we're not um, being nice. If we say no, we're not being there for the person. And when you take a step back and you think, what are my priorities? What is it that I need? And your number one priority should be you, your
Hmm.
health, your mind, your joy for life, how you cast your light to others. That should be like your number one priority. And so when we say yes to everything, you see how the light starts getting completely diluted. You're almost dimming yourself because you're stretching yourself so thin. You can't give light to others. So if you want to give back to someone, if you want to be there, can you do that if you yourself don't have a full tank or a tank that can actually give back? So when you start thinking about it that way, then it's like, I can help better if that's the mindset that you're in, if I'm in the right mindset, if I'm healthy myself, if I have the oxygen mask on me first, and then I can help others. So that allows you to say no a little bit more often. And also saying no unapologetically. You don't have to explain. Somebody says, can you go out for dinner with me? That time doesn't work for me. We could do it in 2 weeks. That works for me. You say no that time because you know there's chaos going on around you. And if you do go for that dinner, it is going to add a lot to your existing day. So you're saying no, I can still do it later. So you're shifting to when it's good for you because you know you want to go out for dinner. You want to have that time with your friend or your coworkers. So it is protecting your time and protecting it in a way that allows you to get your priorities done and that allows you to breathe and put yourself first.
Yeah, I love that. And so when it comes to this quiet leadership or quiet confidence, do you find that it would be it's easier in your experience? Is it easier easily embraced by more of the female leaders or male, or there's no difference in that? I'm just curious if you found that.
I don't believe there is a difference. Sometimes women are more in tune with their emotions, so there's self-awareness, which is key when you want to have that quiet confidence and self-awareness of where you are and what you're doing and that narrative in your mind. So women are a little bit more in tune than men are, but that's not to say that men are not emotionally intelligent either.
Hmm.
So it is a little easier for women to understand, to embrace it, but I believe that anybody can lead. So whether you're a man or a woman, it's for everybody.
Well, I'm just thinking of some Hollywood films, right, where they see this, like, where it's the picture of the boss and he's just, or it's usually a he, and they're just freaking out, screaming all the time. And to to do this 180, I just don't see, and of course it's not dramatic, right? So I'm sure Hollywood will never make movies with quiet, confident leadership. So do you see it, where do you see it? Do you see it coming through? Like, where are we at now? Is it something super new that people are not embracing? It's relatively being embraced, or yeah, we're not, we're not.
Well, emotional intelligence has been around probably since the 1990s. And at the beginning, it was more of well, this is the brand new management tool to use. And people thought it was like soft skills that you learn, or something that you're born with. And these days, emotional intelligence has taken a little bit of a turn where leaders do understand that it is key in their performance, it is key on their success as leaders. And because of that reason, there's more work being done by males on how to build that emotional intelligence as part of their leadership. So coaching is a great tool for that because you get that one-on-one, that person who's not going to judge you, who's just going to be in your mirror and is going to tell you things how they see them, how they observe them without judging, and help you grow and move forward. So that any feedback that you receive from like those 360s that people do, or feedback that you're receiving from people in your team, that you can work through those with somebody one on one. I don't believe we're there, to be quite honest. I see that a lot in the tech industry, engineering industry. Engineers, me being one of them, were more logical, practical. Let's get
Hmm.
things done. So to ask you to take that extra step, to have the conversation, to have that storytelling, to tell me the why behind the what, it's boring. But it has to be learned so that we can have better communication and people can understand why they're doing what they're doing. So I don't believe we're there yet, unfortunately. And that's one of the reasons I do this, because
Mm.
I really do want to help people work with others in a better way, communicate, grow, shine without having the Hollywood thing that you have to yell at somebody
Hmm.
or you have to, bump your fist to get
Hmm.
things done. You can have a conversation. You can have tough conversations. Like, it's not about being nice. You can be firm, and you can also be empathetic at the same time. You can ask people for results. You can ask them to drive results. And that has nothing to do with being nice or no. You can be nice and ask people to get things done. And I believe it comes down to respect and how the leader tells you how to do it, how they explain why you're doing what you're doing, and how you're motivated at the end of the day. So I feel that if I can help more people get to that level where you're communicating, you're being that bridge, you know that you can get others to help you get your work done. It's not just you, then we're being a much better place.
So true, so true. So in terms of this confidence, I'm just curious about your opinion. Many people think confidence comes first and then we take the leap. Um, but from your experience, does confidence actually come before the action, or is that something that we can build by taking the action and not, even embracing the fear. So I'm just curious what you think.
It's interesting that you say fear, because I feel that that equation needs an additional element in there, which is courage. Um, Courage is what allows you to have confidence. And courage doesn't mean the absence of fear. Courage means that you have the clarity of where you're headed, where you're going. You have the clarity of what you bring to the table and who you are and how you're going to show up. So when it comes to, confidence, action, you have the courage of taking the next step, being clear where you're headed, being clear of why you're doing what you're doing, then that builds on your confidence, because you look back, it's like a virtuous circle instead of a vicious circle, right? You start going, I'm going to take that next step. That's the courage kicking in, because I know I'm not going into a black hole. I know that I'm doing this because I'm heading towards this destination, and I can take that first step. And then when a hurdle comes in, you're like, okay, how do we get up? Do I get around it? Do I jump through it? What do I do? And then you start figuring things out that way. So to me, it's more about courage, having that courage of stepping to the next one. And it doesn't mean that the fear will go away. The fear is just going to be contained, because you're either breaking it down in small steps, or you know that it's no longer overwhelming. It's like, oh, I've done that before. I've learned that before. I've figured something out like that before. I've been through that somehow before, and I know I got through it. And that's your confidence. That's you. That's you who knows I can do this.
I like that. Like that perspective for sure. And speaking of building blocks that are sort of required to really develop this quiet confidence, you talked a little bit about courage and emotional intelligence. Is there anything else that maybe is a precursor that you work with clients um, to develop so that they can really fully embrace and be prepared to develop their quiet confidence?
So a lot of times I give the analogy of your mind being a highway. When you're overwhelmed, when you are spinning, or you're not quite sure what to do next and you get paralyzed, if you can picture either a very busy highway, everybody's stuck, and all that's going through perhaps are like the firefighters or the ambulances and anything through. When you see your mind in that state, and this is where that narrative that we tell ourselves is so important, because when you know you're at this stage, you're probably having conversations with yourself before you have them with that person. So let's say you know you're going to go have a very tough conversation or firm conversation. You're imagining it all in your mind, and you're getting yourself more anxious and more worked up. Or perhaps somebody's telling you something, and in your mind you're saying, they don't get it. They don't like me. I knew this will happen. And it's this negative narrative. So if you picture your mind as this road that is all clutter, is stop and stuff like that, what I ask you is, how can we make that road flow? So when this negative narrative comes in, can we park it? Can you take that exit and put it in the parking lot? You're not ignoring it. You're not forgetting about it. You just let it not drive right now. You say, no, I'm
Hmm.
not taking that road. Taking a deep breath is so important with whatever situation you're in. Just like resetting yourself. And then you can reframe it or reroute and say, okay, what can I do next? What's the outcome of that conversation that I need to have? What's my goal? Why am I having this conversation? What am I trying to get out of it? Or this is a very overwhelming situation. What can I do? What's a small thing I can do? If somebody's not validating you, or somebody's saying, you're thinking, oh, they don't get it, how can I learn their perspective? Where are they coming from? Can I ask them, tell me more about what is it that you're talking about, so that you can gain more perspective? So when you do that, then you can picture your mind as like driving in the country through lavender fields, or you can change your location if you want completely, go and be in a yacht in the ocean, or it's smooth sailing and you're enjoying the sun and the breeze. So to me, when you visualize what your mind is doing and what it's doing to control what your next step is, and when you regain control of that, that's when things change, because you're not letting the ambulance get through. You're not getting the noise get through. You're not stuck in traffic. You're not letting other things, other people control what goes on in your mind. And that's the biggest change you can do towards quiet confidence, is on controlling that narrative that goes in your mind. And that's where that bridge comes in, right? If you think about it, you can't be a bridge if there's cars everywhere and nothing's getting through. So how can you bring that light? How can you bring that bridge? Is by having clear roads, by knowing where to exit, when knowing when to reroute, when you know where you're going, where you're headed. I think I'm getting a little carried away there with my
No, I love
my
it.
analogy.
I love the analogy. It makes so much sense. I'm already picturing myself driving a smooth road on the Amalfi Coast with no traffic, which it's very rare because there's always traffic on there. No, it's beautiful. I like how you put this together for sure. And my question about the quiet leadership or quiet confidence, is it something that we acquire it, we have it, and then that's it? We don't need to develop it anymore, or it's just a
It's an
tool in our tool?
everyday. It's every day. Like, that narrative doesn't go away. And even if you are grounded and you're calm and you're getting through things, there will be situations that are going to cause that traffic. There are going to be ambulances going through. There is going to be firefighters going through. So it's up to you to figure out, like, how do I get through that, knowing that it's temporary, not something that is going to be the norm.
And
And it takes every day, really.
yeah, everyday practice to bring you back. And so you talked a little bit about control and always getting back that control, so that then the narrative and the mental chatter is not controlling the narrative. How do you teach that? What are some of your tips? I teach my clients the 3 spheres of control. I'm just curious, what do you do to help
So
people?
to me, it's more about, like, what's your process to calm yourself? What's going to bring you, get you into a state where you're calm and collected? For somebody, is meditating. For others, it's just breathing. For others, it's just, I take a 2-minute walk. I dance for 5 minutes. What is it that is going to get you into a reset mode when you are aware of what's happening? Because the first step is knowing that it's happening. If you don't know it's happening, you cannot step away from it. So what are you going to do to step away from it? And that's the first thing. And once you reset, how do you re-engage? And
Right.
that's let's reroute. What's the next step there? How am I looking at this? Observing again, observing, observing. So it takes practice. And it's every day. It's at home, it's at work, with anybody, really. Even people can trigger you at the store if there's something that is bothering you.
Yeah.
Something can trigger you too, right? And
Yeah.
how do you control that narrative so that you don't treat that person at the counter
Yeah,
in a way
that's
that
true.
you're not proud of?
Right. You know, exactly. And you remember my parents? They're my triggers too. Love them to death, but they're also my triggers that I often find. So do you or suggest your clients do this by writing it down, and then it sort of becomes this mental process that you can do without writing down? Or do you find that you kind of always need to write it down or not? I'm just
It
curious.
depends. It's what your process is. So when we figure out, when we work
Got it.
together, is what is that process? For some, is journaling. For some, is having that quiet time. For some, is just having a grateful moment at the end of the day so that they can figure out what happened and what didn't. Some of them write it down, some of them don't. So it really is like what's best for them. Because again, I don't believe in mold. So I don't believe like everybody should journal. If journaling gives you peace, let's do it. But if journaling stresses you out, let's not do it. A lot of people cannot meditate Can you do something else that quiets your mind? I play with Lego. Or can you color? Can you build something? Or can you just go for a walk around the block? It's like, what is it that it's going to be? So it's different for everybody.
Yeah, that's true. And it changes too throughout your life as well. What worked for you one season of your life may not work, or may not be as effective as before.
And it's
So,
knowing that you can figure it out.
or work with someone like you to help you figure it out.
Shameless plug.
I know, right? Exactly. So have there been moments in your own career, Karen? I'm wondering where you felt you had to become someone else to succeed, and what helped you come back to yourself?
Say at the beginning of my career, I was promoted into management fairly early, and I didn't know what to do. So I started reading all the leadership books by primarily probably white men because that's what was available. And so trying to emulate their behavior, trying to emulate how they succeeded, trying to emulate who they were, whether they were tough or firm or this and that. And being so exhausted to the point of burning out, of knowing this is not me. I'm just doing things that are not natural to me. I'm doing things that I don't agree with, but I'm doing them because that's what the definition of success is. And so when I realized that this is not right, I have to be me. And who am I? And who do I want to be as a leader? Then that's when I started being myself. It took a while to figure out and get the steps of who I was and what I wanted to be, because for so long I was doing what was expected or what was the norm or the mold to be a successful leader.
It takes, again, a lot of courage as well. Go
It's
back
self
to.
awareness.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. It's interesting, like, it needs to be that awareness first, and it's listening to podcasts like these or watching, or that you sort of maybe sparked something in someone to be like, yeah. And I think authenticity too, if it's you're feeling that uncomfortableness or even that physical, like tired or exhaustion or fatigue, that may mean, I mean, there's tons of reasons why you may be feeling that, but it could also be because you're not being authentic or you're working from an unauthentic space.
It's definitely a signal. And knowing what, like you said, what fills your cup, what helps you move, what keeps you moving, and what doesn't drain you is so key. And that I do ask people to observe with, through a day, just observe. Oh, I enjoyed that. That was fun. The cup filled, or oh my God, I cannot do this anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, what drains you? And then you start understanding who you are, what brings you joy, what doesn't. Mind you, we all have to do things that we don't like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't want that to be the majority of the time either.
Yes, exactly. I love that exercise too. It's energy management, like who is draining your energy and who is energizing you. So supporting that energy. And sometimes, yeah, you might have to decide to spend a little less time with those energy vampires, right? That may be draining your
You
energy.
don't let them control your energy either, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes, yes. So tell us, what are your top three non-negotiable self-care habits to help develop or sustain this quiet confidence that we're talking about here today?
So for me, self-care is about having that calm, collected mind, not saying that chaos doesn't happen, but how do I manage it calmly? It's important to me. So for me, reading, not
Mm.
to learn, but like reading those novels is like
Mm-hmm.
you escape for 10, 15 minutes and my mind just resets. I don't think about work. I don't think about what's going on. It's like I'm immersed. Meditation does the same thing for me. It's like quieting my mind, but to the point that I can feel my body. Like reading is more about let's just reset. Whereas meditation is like, how can I recharge my body? And that meditation absolutely does that. And the other self care that I do that is absolutely non negotiable for me is protecting my calendar. I review my calendar every week, see what's ahead, what's going on, what I say yes to, what I say no to, or what I say yes, but another time. I am very protective of that. And even at home, we do our meal schedule for the week. We all do it together, so we know what we're making for dinner, who's doing it, what ingredients we need to do, so that there's less decision making too. Sometimes there's so many little things you have to make decisions on that it's like, oh, we're making this today. I know all the ingredients are there because we already did the groceries, and then you go in and do it. So it's no longer an area where there is chaos or there is friction. It's more like, oh, that's the next thing I have to do. I said I would do it, so I will go to bed.
I love that. So the whole
So
family takes part
yeah,
in that, in the meal
all three of
planning.
us do it. Yes, my daughter says that we're boring when it comes to menus, so she's the one who comes up with what meal.
Oh, cool. I like that idea. So I
Yeah.
know of meal prepping on like Sundays to meal prep, but I've never heard of doing it as a family. And like, yeah, that is perfect. And you're right, decision fatigue. And lots of times, like, I mean, even me as a nutritionist, I'm just like, oh, I don't know what I want, what I can do, or I can make. So planning that ahead of time is beautiful
And
advice.
having all the ingredients, because sometimes you can plan and not have the ingredients and then you're scrambling. So it's
Yes.
just all coming together. Yes. So we do that. And we have to do meal prep ahead of time because we know we have a busy week ahead. We do that.
Mm,
But we plan for it. And that's, to me, is non-negotiable. We got to plan our weeks, know
yeah.
what's coming ahead so that we're managing the energy, we're managing who's doing what too.
Yes, for sure. So, Karen, what's one small practical, and I think we touched upon these, but maybe one small practical step that you can recommend a woman listening or watching this to help her feel more confident? What would you say?
I would say observe your narrative. If you start observing your narrative, not to judge it, not to criticize it, just to observe it and see what happens, that's the first step towards self awareness. And then you can start seeing patterns, then you can start making different choices. But it takes at the beginning is like being in tune with what's going on, what narrative are you hearing, and then you can take action afterwards. But the very, very first step is just observe. Give yourself grace. Don't criticize. When you observe, you don't judge. You're literally being factual. I see red, I see blue, I see yellow. That's all we're looking for.
So then there's that awareness, and then we can address that with whatever coaching tips that you can
Yeah.
offer them.
Or even yourself too, right? It's like once you have that awareness, that narrative, it's like,
Mm, mm,
okay, I'm not feeling that I know enough about that subject. That's where that fear is coming from. What can I do to learn more about it?
mm.
But then you have an action right there, concrete action that you can do, and you know you're able to learn a new skill. So that's where you're observing, because you're observing of what is this narrative telling you? If you're hearing like, oh, you're not good enough, what is it about it that is not good enough? Or I'm not being heard. What can I do to change that? A lot of times we think the work will speak for itself. And reality is we have to speak for ourselves. So how can you do that? How can you next day say, I was able to complete this and this is the value that I brought to the equation, not just I did X.
Itself.
Exactly. But it's like, what value did you bring there? Because I did that, now this team is better. Because I did that, we increased this or we decreased that, or this is how the company grew, or this is how I grew. So it's always knowing like how whatever you do is connected to the value that you're bringing. And that
Right.
builds your confidence. Think about it. It's like you're
Yeah.
not just thinking, oh my God, I did like 20 things today. You think, oh, I did 20 things. And within those 20 things, I was able to lower this, increase this customer satisfaction. I was able to modify this so that we can do that. Like, think about that story. It's a different story when you're like, this is what I accomplished or this is
Mm,
what I learned, opposed to, I'm so drained because I got this 20 things
And again, it reminds me of a recruitment practice where we tell people on their resumes or CVs, not just list what you've done, list the impact behind those accomplishments. So do you,
exactly. Value.
yes, yeah. So the value that you brought, exactly. So do you recommend that we do this on a daily basis or weekly or monthly or quarterly? What do you reckon? What do you recommend?
I used to like say to do it on a weekly basis. Spending hours on this, probably spending 15 minutes. You're looking at what your goals are, what the department goals are. What have you done that moved the needle in that direction? Where have you grown? And what did you learn? What worked? What didn't work? And it's simple. You don't have to write a speech. You don't have to write an entire essay about it, but you do need to be succinct and understand that's how I brought value. This is how I moved the needle. So you also don't feel that your entire week was wasted. Your entire week was towards moving that goal, getting closer, getting something done. And now you see how it just becomes that cycle, right? It's like, your confidence starts building, your judgment starts building, who you are, how you value yourself, knowing that you did it starts building. So it's a cycle.
Yes, exactly. It's feeding into it. I love that. I love
Mhm.
that. How beautiful way to wrap up for sure. This incredible conversation. So tell us one last question. What do you want to be remembered for, Karen?
Ooh,
Or who?
I feel that for me, I want to remember by how I made somebody see the world in a different light. If I'm able to do that for you, whether it's on how you see yourself or how you see the opportunities that you have or how you see the situation differently of something that you didn't know how to see it before, that's what I'm here to do.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And I am so excited for the work that you're doing, for how we met and how we're staying in touch and just following your journey too is quite inspiring. So I know,
Likewise.
thank you. So I know that you do have a little complimentary gift for us. So if you want to maybe just talk a little bit about that. And then also, where is the best place for people to connect with you and follow your work and maybe perhaps get in touch to become a client?
So the gift for your listeners is just to have a 30-minute coaching session with me. Come in with something that you are looking to clarify, find clarity on, and let's work on it and see where that takes you. And how to find me. My website, laluzconsulting.org. On the contact form, you can definitely fill out a form and get in touch. LinkedIn, I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you look for Karen Wonders, I have a newsletter. I am pretty active there too. So that's probably the best way to connect and see the work that I'm doing.
Amazing. Well, thank you again for your incredible time and sharing these beautiful golden nuggets. I'd love to have you back. So, whenever there's something that you want to come and talk about and offer your beautiful leadership on and your insights and experience, you're always welcome to come back. So, thank you so much for your
Thank
time
you.
today.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Take care. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to the Self Care Goddess podcast. If today's episode inspired you, share it with another woman who's ready to reclaim her vitality and lead from within. To continue your journey, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with me on ritasavoya.com. Until next time, remember self care isn't selfish, it's your superpower. Take a deep breath in, exhale, and keep rising. Ciao for now.